Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Magnetic Woman Show. I am so excited to bring you another incredible guest with me today. Today, we have Ellen Newhouse, and for the past 35 years, she has integrated acupuncture and sound healing. So, she is an energy medicine and transformational coach. She is also the author of a best-selling memoir, Nothing Ever Goes On Here, as well as a performer of the one woman show, also called Nothing Ever Goes On Here. And she now is a singer-songwriter and has incredible original songs such as Dream Stealer and I Am Not Shame. Ellen, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for my audience to get to know you better and to dive in. So, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for this conversation.
Me too. So why don't you tell the listeners and everybody watching on YouTube a little bit more about you and especially how you mix acupuncture and sound healing because that just sounds incredible.
Yeah, so it's a journey I never expected to take. I was a very happy corporate monster.
Mm.
My last job was working at Vanity Fair magazine, very happy. And then at 26 years of age, I woke up and I couldn't breathe. And this catapulted me on to an entire journey that I never would have expected because after 2 years of taking every single medication Western medicine had to offer, I still couldn't breathe right.
Wow.
So I was my very first patient in a time when alternative medicine didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I was desperate, believe me. I got on my hands and knees, prayed to God, and said, "You need to get down here because I'm not ready to die."
Yeah.
And nothing happened in that moment, but what did happen was that I committed to a prayer practice like none other. Believe me, when you think you're going to die, you get very serious about praying.
Oh
And
yeah.
within 1 month, I was completely changed, frighteningly so. I mean, I was like,
Yeah,
I didn't even recognize my own being.
definitely.
And so much so that I had to walk with watching my feet because one of my right foot was had already moved ahead and my left foot was still in my past and they were not coordinated.
Mhm.
So for 1 year, I watched my feet so that I didn't trip and fall. I mean, it was really interesting to
Oh,
see how the body can literally shapeshift itself when you're doing this deep internal work.
yeah.
And eventually, I went back and got, a master's degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine. But I will tell you, I still work the same as I did before the degree. So basically, I would say that what I really do is channel spirit. When people come to me, I listen very deeply, but I'm also looking at, and I'm looking across at where my patients normally sit. I'm really looking at, oh, there's their soul, and here they are in their physical, emotional life. So now, how do I have to guide them so that they can meet with their soul and live in alignment with who they came here to be?
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I
Yeah.
think that's all we want, right? Is to feel aligned, to feel
Yes.
healthy, to feel vibrant, to enjoy life, and to be aligned in what we love to
Yeah.
do, who we know ourselves to be,
Yeah.
and to just be like living that very integrated every single day.
And it sounds so good and
Yeah.
so delicious.
Yes.
And it sounds like this should be natural.
Yeah,
And it is anything but.
for sure.
Anything but, because, I wish, when I meet God, the first conversation we're going to have is, why don't we get to remember who we are so that we don't have to go through all of this? But of course, that's the journey, that's the
Yeah.
learning. And I tell you, one of the things that I struggled with the very most was being able to hold joy, being able to live with joy. Because from the book, as people get to know me, I grew up in a very violent household, extremely violent. So for me, learning to live with joy was marred by, well, here comes joy. Oh my God, wait, wait, wait.
Yeah.
That's a memory that the violence is then coming,
Oof. Oof.
right?
Of
And
course.
believe me, I'm not alone.
No.
As I've
No.
worked with people, thousands and thousands of women over the years, it's whether you've had sexual abuse, you've been raped, you've
Yeah.
whatever the trauma is, and it doesn't even have to be that intense.
Right.
Joy is often what was happening before the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to be able to learn to sit in, like physically sit in my joy, ooh,
Yeah. So tough. I mean, that is something I think so many people struggle with. I call it the other shoe syndrome, right? Where it's like we're
yes,
constantly afraid the other
yeah,
shoe's going to drop. If something good happens, it's going to
yeah,
be taken away, it's going to be ruined, the other shoe's going to drop. And I think, you know, what I always tell people is like life is going to life. There of course there
yeah,
is going to be a heartbreak. Like, yes, you're going to experience joy and there will also be a heartbreak. But you're not being given heartbreak because you felt joy. Like it's not a punishment. And I think that that's also really tied into religious conditioning, right? Like that,
mhm,
oh, I have to prove my love for the divine, my worthiness of being loved by the divine through my suffering, right? That's that patriarchal religious conditioning that we all have. It doesn't matter if you were raised religious or not, because it's kind of like baked into the cake of patriarchy and capitalism. Like, prove how much you can suffer, and then you'll be given something.
yeah.
And I think for a lot of women, and I'd love your thoughts on this, a lot of women have been raised to connect with other women through suffering, through complaining, through
Oh,
like how hard things are. Oh, that's
mhm,
hard for you. Oh, I get it. This is hard for me.
mhm.
And it's actually, I think, in some ways more challenging to connect with women through your desires, through your joy,
Mm,
through like, oh my God, all of these amazing things are going right for me.
yeah. Well, and I always make a joke and I say that men figured out the greatest device to hold on to their power, which was to make women compete
Yes,
amongst themselves.
yes,
Then they don't have to worry about women rising if
yes,
they're
exactly.
fighting.
Yes,
And so perhaps the complaining was a step up from fighting each other.
right.
But I also think baked, as you say, into the whole capitalist society and patriarchy is the notion that you cannot have joy until you achieve X, Y, and Z.
Yes,
And that X, Y, and Z, the bar keeps raising. As you get closer to whatever you said originally, then we raise the bar. So there's not going to be any joy because we're going to keep raising it up.
yeah.
And so I think the greatest threat to capitalism is joy.
Ugh, yes, yes. And
Because
it's
if
all,
you, yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead. You know, if you're having a great time and you don't have to buy, so part of my education working for Vanity Fair was to learn the secrets on Madison Avenue.
Right.
And one of the greatest secrets on Madison Avenue is we do not sell a car, we sell sex. We do
Uh-huh.
not sell perfume, we sell desire.
Yes,
You are sexually desirable if you smell good.
yes,
Okay. So the whole notion is behind marketing is that we have to give you something to make you desirable enough, good enough, sexy enough.
yes.
So if you're having joy, believe me, you're not buying a whole lot of stuff.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Exactly. Exactly. And
So,
I also think that joy is, especially right now in 2026, the greatest form of resistance, right?
yes,
It's the greatest
yes.
form, it is the easy, like the simplest, I should say, the simplest form of resistance, because it's not easy, especially being so overly connected with the internet and social media. Like we're seeing all day, every day, like the atrocities happening across the globe. And personally, I think it's important that women, especially women leaders, are aware of what's going on. Like you do have your fingers on the pulse. You know what's going on. And simultaneously, you have to take care of your physical body, your energetic body, your emotional self, and choosing joy with all of that going on is like the greatest form of resistance and the biggest like pushback against capitalism as well. Because you're like, not only am I going to choose joy right now when you're trying so hard to dysregulate me and to throw me off center, but I'm going to choose joy and not participate in overconsumption either.
Yes, yes. And I really do think joy is the greatest resistance because it not only keeps you centered in yourself, but it also regulates and calms your body down. Because, the greatest thing that the billionaires want right now is not only to keep us divided,
Yeah.
but also to keep us dysregulated because then I need something to
Yeah.
regulate myself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And if we are centered in our center
Mhm.
and in our joy, boy, there isn't a lot that you're going to need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to figure out real quickly that this division of, us versus them does not work.
No.
It does not work on any level whatsoever.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm hoping we're moving towards.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that people will start to say, "Wait a minute. This is a game once again where the top is keeping us fighting amongst ourselves so that we don't rise."
Yeah. So we're not paying attention to up here. We're
Exactly.
just like "Rah!" with each other.
Yeah, and we need each other in America. We
Yes.
really do.
Yes.
And and I'm sorry, I'm really sad and sorry it has become so divisive because that is so un-American.
It is.
The America I know and love, it is filled with everybody.
Yeah.
And it is filled with loving on each other. Like I grew up in a time it did not matter. Like I remember when I met my husband, he said, "Oh, I'm Republican." I said, "I'm Democrat," and we kissed and it did
Yeah.
not matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that where we're marching forward towards is not only a time where once again these labels won't matter, but that we're marching towards a time where spirit and love and
Yeah.
this idea of loving your neighbor no matter what is what we're building towards. And I mean, I have goosebumps because I really believe that love is the greatest tool,
Yeah.
um the greatest energy that we have in this world.
Yeah.
And I refuse to believe that hate will win. I refuse
Yeah. We
because I
can't.
think
You
love
can't
is
win.
the greatest energy and it will win.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, will we ever get out of this? Absolutely, we will. And we will do it by first loving ourselves. And I mean, really loving ourselves. Like, not this just like nice idea, like, oh, I love myself. That's great. Let's move on. But I want everybody to really dig in where the places of doubt are, where the places of like, I don't like that about me. And I
Yeah.
want you to start loving on that.
Yeah. It's so, love is so alchemical, especially when it's
Mhm.
directed inward, right? Because again, as you said, with patriarchy and capitalism,
Hmm.
women, I think especially, there's so much marketing, so much messaging towards us of you're not enough. You either have to do something, be something, or buy something in order to be enough. And as you said, it's like that goalpost of enoughness keeps moving. And I call it the tightrope of enoughness, right? Because we as women, we're like, we don't want to be too much, but we also don't want to keep feeling like we're not enough. So we're like constantly, going back and forth there. And yet, when we bring a sense of love to, as you said, the parts of ourselves that we're like, that I don't want anybody to know that part, or I don't want anybody to find that part out, it becomes so transformative.
Oh, and it is alchemical. I mean, it really is on a literal DNA level, on a cellular level.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever looked at the work of, oh gosh, Doctor. I cannot think of his name, but he's a Japanese doctor who has looked at water.
Yes, yeah, I know what
Okay, I
you're talking about. I
cannot
can't
think of
remember
his
his name
name right
either, but I
now.
know
No,
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. And what he's discovered, so he took water and had people scream at it, I hate you, you're
Yes,
ugly. And then the other water is, I love you, you're beautiful. And it literally changes the
yes,
shape under a microscope
yes,
of that structure.
yes,
So I know that absolutely, when we dig in and do the hard work, not the easy work,
yes.
not the like, oh, I love you and move on, but like really look at the stories that we tell ourselves, because those stories, most of the time as we dig in, came from somebody else.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Whenever, I have clients or women who are like, "Oh, I'm afraid, that this will be too much," or "I'm afraid that this will be," and I'm like, "According to who? Like,
Exactly.
who is the person?" It's
Hmm.
usually going to be the church, patriarchy, or like Aunt Karen, who you're afraid is
Right,
going to see your Facebook. Like, okay, block her.
right.
And like, are we living for these structures, But yeah, it's like, where are these stories from that are keeping you bound or small or holding you back from, as you were saying at the beginning, living so much more aligned and authentic?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I think as we work on those stories, as we peel them back, because it's not just one story, it's
Right.
layers and layers
Yes.
and layers of stories. And we also hear the stories of our mothers through our own bodies, through our
Yes.
own
Yes.
minds, because
Yes.
we take it on and we
Yes.
repeat it. And, I'm working on a new book and I called
Amazing.
All the Mothers, because we really are from
Okay.
generations
So,
and generations
yeah.
of mothers who didn't have the potentiality. Well, they had the potential, they didn't have the possibility to
Yes.
have these conversations
Yes.
and to do the work.
Yes.
And we are living in an exceptional time that we have one another and we have these conversations. They're so important.
They're so, so, so important. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm hosting the Embodied Feminine Leadership Revolution event, because I think now more than ever, again, there's so much going on in the world. And as a woman, and especially as a woman leader, whatever that looks like for you, it can, one, feel really exhausting, demoralizing. It can feel very scary, right? To be like, I want to be living authentically, living in joy, putting my work, my mission, my art into the world.
Mhm.
And simultaneously, this event came up because I was having so many conversations like this in DMs with friends and colleagues. And I'm like, so many of us are feeling this. So many of us are like excited and hopeful because, again, we have the ability to get on Zoom, record this podcast,
Right.
put it out into the world, right? And it's like we need to be having these conversations on a more like global scale, on a more outward space. And so Ellen, of course, is one of the incredible women joining us in the event. So if you want to join us, it's completely free. You can go to the link below and sign up. It's March 20th through 27th. And again, that is one theme that has been consistent through the interviews that I've been doing with all of the experts, where it's like, we, there's a lot of shit right now. And how lucky are we as women
Yes.
that
Yes.
we have the access that we have right now, like whether that be educational, financial, um, internet access, you know what I mean?
Right.
Access to
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a lot to do. There is a lot to fight back against. But I think about this often as well because in a lot of my content, I talk like about the fact that I'm 38 and I'm single and child free by choice, and just the fact that I get to make that choice. I get to be like,
Yes.
actually, I don't know that those are the things that I want. Even though growing up, I assumed that's what I wanted. I was just like, of course, that's what you want. And the fact that I get to make that choice, and I think, and I would love to dive into this a little bit more, but there is something I think really coming up in the collective right now around ancestral healing and
Oh.
specifically maternal lineage work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I think it's really, really important as we dismantle a lot of these harmful systems, patriarchal religion, in my opinion, capitalism, like how awful capitalism is. As we dismantle these systems, there's a natural sense of searching, right? And I see this a lot with people in New Age spirituality. They've never deconstructed organized religion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then they find themselves through personal development, healing, whatever, into New Age spirituality. And then they boomerang into the megachurch because they have nothing, like they haven't done the ancestral work to be like, what was like the spiritual practices in my lineage prior to Christianity? What were the women in my lineage doing to celebrate the change of seasons? What were the women in my lineage doing to pass down wisdom and medicine to the women, And so I think that there's a deep hunger in a lot of women for this deeper ancestral work. So I'm curious, like how do you see that coming up with a lot of women? I mean, I'm assuming if you're writing a book about it, and
Yeah.
how does that show up for a lot of women?
I think a lot of women feel disconnected if they're really honest. First, from spirit, even though people talk about it all the time, it's not experienced in their being, in their body. It's a concept. Yeah, it's a structural concept. So I think the idea of literally embodying spirit and what that means
Yeah.
and what it can look like. I think there's no notion of that. So I often refer back to in my current book, there's a moment when I'm a little girl, and unfortunately, my mother spent much of my life in and out of mental institutions. So I didn't often have my mother present, or when she was, she could be often over medicated or just not able to be present. And I'm getting ready for temple. Oh, it just always brings tears. And I don't know how to do my hair. And suddenly all I could think of was the prayers that were sung in temple, and I just started singing them and asking for any help. And I think of that little tiny girl, because I was very petite, singing in front of the mirror, trying to figure this out, and having the help of her
Oh,
ancestors.
I'm gonna start because that's so
Right?
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And so when I tell that story to a lot of women, they look at me like, I even want that experience. I'll take even
Yes.
that
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
And so I think we need, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever it is, a lot of the new age wisdom was handed down by men.
Yes. Louder for people in the back, okay? Because this is
Yes,
like a hill I will
yes.
die on.
And so I think we need to remember who we are as women through the ancestry, through our physical body, not just our minds, because that's not going to suffice for women, because women,
Yes.
much of our information comes through our bodies.
Yes.
And by the way, just so you know, I chose at 7 years old not to bring children into this world.
Yeah.
And I've had many women, much older than
Right?
me, tell me, "Oh, honey, don't you worry. By the time you're 50, you're going to regret this." And I want you to know I have never for a
That's
moment
amazing.
regretted that decision.
Amazing.
And I was blessed by meeting a wonderful man,
Yeah.
who is my husband of now 22 years, although we were
Wow.
married later. Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
And he had two beautiful daughters.
Oh.
And it was harder than hell. I am not going to mince words. It
Ah,
was so hard. They hated me for many, many years,
I'm
many
sure.
years.
Yeah.
This Mother's Day, if you want to cry,
Yeah.
this Mother's Day, my little one, they're only a year apart, wrote me and she said, "I am so sorry. We were horrible people. We are better people now. I love you. Happy Mother's Day." I
Oh.
mean,
Oh.
I mean, I mean, what
Oh.
more can you ask? So,
Yeah.
whether I am a biological mother or
Yes.
not
Yes.
doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
I mother so many people on the planet.
This, and I've been talking a lot about this recently because I am lucky enough to have a niece who's just turned
Mm,
2.
yeah.
And so she's my first niece nephew in the family, and she is, I mean, she's hilarious. Um,
Oh.
and I am I see my role as her aunt
Mm,
as a sacred role. And I talk to my friends who have kids as well. And I'm like, I believe that women who are child free by choice, we occupy a really unique sacred role in society because we have more time and space not having
mhm,
children.
mhm.
I mean, just factually, right? You have more time and space not having children and we get to show up in ways in society, specifically with mothers and with their daughters, or, mothers and children. We get to show up in society in a really uniquely way that is vital and supportive. And like you said, what does being a mother, like, yes, being a biological mother, but I think so many of us are so many women leaders right now, whether or not you have biological children, stepchildren, whatever your family dynamic looks like, we are mothering
Oh,
so much right now,
yes,
especially spiritually. We are the like spiritual matriarchs that we
yes.
never had, that the little 7-year-old is praying to, doing her hair. Like now we are here physically and like able to pass on that wisdom that is specifically the embodied wisdom that, again, I love how you described it, because I do think even in new age, especially in new age spirituality, there's still this constant push to get up and out of the body, meditate, like go into the 5D, astro project. And I'm like, you chose to be human. Like,
Exactly,
stay in your
exactly,
body. What is the point
exactly.
here?
Yes, and you
Come
can do all of those things and you still have a physical body. And I just read a poem, oh my gosh, last night by Andrew Gibson. I'm going to send it to you. You will
please.
love it.
Oh,
It is
please.
all about a soul who has died and what they're missing about their body.
Whoa.
I mean, it gave me goosebumps. I was like, oh my God, because we often take our bodies for granted, or we don't have a beautiful relationship with it, and we
Yes.
don't
Yes.
honor, the first mothering, if you really want to be honest, is with ourselves.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's why I chose not to have children at 7 years old. I knew that if I did not do my healing work, God bless me how I knew this at 7, that I would repeat what my parents had done to me. And I was a no-go on that one.
Yeah.
No go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just really want to commend you about knowing
Hmm.
and continuing to stand by your knowing.
Yes.
Because
And yeah.
I was just going to say, I think whatever that inner knowing is for us, and doesn't have to be about children or partnership or anything like that. We as women are taught and conditioned from a very early age to ignore our inner knowing, to find it
Mhm.
wrong. And I mean, how many times have you been like, oh, I want this, or I think this, or I do that? And somebody in the world, usually a man, is like, oh no, or like, where's the proof? Like, prove to me your intuition, right? And
Mhm.
so I think it can be very challenging to be steadfast in our inner knowing and not self-abandon it for the approval of others, for a perceived sense of safety by like being accepted in the community. So I just like really want to commend you for, I mean, obviously recognizing the knowing, but more importantly, not self-abandoning that inner knowing and decision because I think it is really easy to and not to, we've all self-abandoned on decisions and inner knowings, and that's also part of being human is like self-abandoning and coming back and forgetting and reclaiming. But I think especially with the decision to not have children, like that the fact that you just were like, no, I'm a no, I'm not going to justify this, I'm not going to like bend, I'm not like it's a no for me is
You
so
know,
beautiful.
well, and it's so interesting because I've had many, many patients over the years who
Yeah.
chose not to have children, but they suffered greatly from people's opinions and
Yeah.
judgments
Yeah.
and never once, other than one gynecologist, actually two, I take two, and they were both gynecologists. Other than those two people, and they were both women,
Oh, wow.
nobody ever questioned. I think it was so through and through
That's amazing.
clear.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said, why are you doing this? Why
No.
don't you? And I grew up, I mean, in a very different time
Great.
when the expectation was you got married and you had babies. And
Definitely.
I got married at 21. I did that,
Yes.
dutifully.
Yes.
But that one thing. Now, the funny thing is, and this is hysterical, when I finally met my true husband, as I call him, um, I wanted to have babies. I was like, I want to have a baby with you. And he said, no, I'm done. And we broke up. I mean, that is the irony of life.
That's
I know
so
the
funny.
irony. And I am grateful. It would have been very complex with
Yeah.
the girls.
Yes.
And I want to say to women also, if you make a decision at 30, at 35, and then you meet somebody and you're like, I that's okay too. You get to change your
Yes.
mind.
Yes. When I have this conversation with people, I say, I'm 99% sure I'm not having kids. And
Yeah.
that 1% is I know that I can't predict life. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. But right now, who I am, where I am not making decisions based on a desire to have children. I am making decisions based on my desires and assuming I'm not having children. And again, who knows?
Yeah,
Who
yeah, yeah,
knows?
yeah,
I'm not like I- I'm so fairly young, but I'm like I've lived enough life to know
yeah,
there is no certainty, there is no guarantee here. So like where I am right now is 99%
yeah.
like it's a no. Who knows what's gonna happen? But yeah, no, it's again, I think the steadfastness in you is so beautiful. That's incredible.
Yeah, now I wish I was that clear about everything else.
Don't we all? I mean, that's the thing, right? And again, you can be that clear and
Yeah.
you can change your mind. You can be that clear and in a way again self-abandon and come back. And that's just all tying this back into the beginning, right? Feeding that sense of true unwavering love into ourselves, where when you do change your mind or when you do self-abandon or when you do waver, you still love yourself.
And that is true love. Can you sit with loving yourself even in those moments of doubt, of insecurity, of uncertainty, of just being at your wits' end and say, okay, I hold all of this in a container of love.
Yeah. Ugh, so, so beautiful. So, as we wrap up, Ellen, thank you again so much for being here. Is there anything left for you on your heart or coming up that you want to share with the audience before we close out?
Yeah, so regardless of wherever you are on your journey, if there's a new desire that keeps popping up, and no matter how old you are, how young you are, and you keep thinking, that doesn't go with the plan that I had, it doesn't make sense, how is this fitting together? I just want you to follow that desire, that joy. For me, that is a whisper from the divine spirit directly to you saying, hello, come this way. You're going to learn a lot. And that whisper for me came a few years ago when I started, just the thought of could I write music came. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's a crazy thought. What am I doing? And now, Friday, I just released my third song and on Spotify and all the apps. And I will tell you, it is a growing tool for me. I love it. I love writing this music. I love singing it. And it is not easy. The writing is super easy, but the whole singing and the business of it, not easy. Not easy at
No.
all. If I thought publishing a book was hard, oh, that's a piece of cake. But I really want to encourage people, especially if you're older and you're thinking, oh, I'm too old for this. Baloney. Do not listen to those voices. Or if you think I'm too young,
Yeah.
also same thing. Not
Yeah.
not true. Not true. So I just want you to follow your joy. What because it there's a there's so much juice and joy and there's so much learning inside of that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And again, for everybody watching and listening, make sure to sign up for the Embodied Feminine Leadership
Yes.
Revolution for free, and you will get to see Ellen as well as all of the other incredible experts, leaders. It is going to be such a packed like so much content, but also like so much fun, so much community. And make sure to connect with Ellen on all of her social media and everything, which you can find down below as well. Ellen, thank you so, 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 so much for being here.
Oh, this was
This-
truly such a joy. Thank
oh
you for
my gosh.
having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, my loves. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And make sure to tune into the next one. We'll see you soon.